Assalamu alaikum, guys. I hope you guys are all well. Welcome to LALJI'S podcast. So today, basically, pretty much, first of all, I just want to say I hope everyone at home is doing well. I hope everyone's safe at home. I hope everyone's, keeping to the guidelines and following the guidelines, and everyone's doing well at home. And I hope everyone's going to have, Eid Mubarak to everyone who's watching this podcast right now. Not sure how many viewers we've got so far. But if there's anyone watching right now, then Eid Mubarak to all of you, and whoever's going to watch after, whether you're doing it tomorrow or you're doing it Monday, my congratulations to you guys, and I hope all the people that in this sort of unprecedented time that we're going through in this pandemic, I hope everyone's keeping safe, and I hope everyone's looking after their families and spending time with their families, because even though we are in this lockdown, and as negative as you can take it, there are also positives that you can also gather from it as well, like spending time with your family, appreciating one another, maybe having conversations that you haven't had before. So there are things to look at it from a good perspective. And one of them, from my side, is doing stuff that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but I just haven't had the time, which is this podcast that we've got so far. We've got some amazing guests today, and some guests that I've known for a very, very long time. And some guests I've only met in the last couple of years, and now they are basically like my brothers, like my best friends. So I'm really, really happy today. Today is the first podcast, and inshallah, many more to come. I hope you guys all are going to tune in and follow, and I'm sure, inshallah, we're going to have a great discussion going forward. So basically, normally, the people that we've got on the panel today, normally you'll associate with them with reciting in a jashan or in a mehfil or a majlis, reciting. But today, instead of reciting, for all of us, it's a bit different. We're going to be doing more talking. So, we're basically, we're quite young. We're brought up in Western lifestyle. Our parents have raised us in the West, and people sometimes, I've got this question from people outside as well, saying, why, like, how did you start reciting? Like, I'm sure you guys all get this question too before I introduce you guys, and it's a question that a lot of people ask, and it's a question that's quite, like, you get a bit confused about it, because you think to yourself, wait a minute, how do I answer that question? Why did I start reciting? It's quite a deep question. There's a lot of things that surround that question, and there's a lot of things that to think about before you answer that question. So I decided, it would be a good topic for the first one, I thought. And for that, I've got people who are also from the West, who have brought up like myself, and I'm going to introduce them one by one. They don't need introductions, but I will introduce them because they deserve an introduction. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the youngest of all of us, someone that I look up to as my younger brother, and someone that I learn a lot off as well. And that is the one and only Yusuf Okera from London. Assalamu alaikum, Yusuf.
Wa alaikum salam, Abbas bhai, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? Everything okay?
Alhamdulillah.
Yusuf Okera from London, and next guest, also from London. Someone that obviously I keep being introduced to in the last couple of years, but someone that I've grown fond of. I like the way he thinks. I like his personality. He's another brother of mine, and I'm looking forward to growing with him in the same field that we're in right now, and inshallah we get closer and closer. And that is Meesam Mehdi.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone watching, and to you, Abbas Haider. Thank you for having me on here.
No problem. I'm glad to have you on here, bro. And now, someone that I have spent a lot of my time with growing up, I can say, I think the amount of journeys and the amount of majlises, whatever you call it, even like just normal, like going out in town, restaurants, whatever, I've done with this guy. I won't be able to describe how close we are as brothers. It's been we've been reciting together for nearly, I'd say, since the age of 11, 12 years old. So it's been a good 10, 12 years of recitations together, growing together as friends, as brothers. Meesam Haider.
Assalamu alaikum, Ya Ali Madad. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, you're right. It's been a an amazing, eventful journey indeed, which we'll be talking about today, inshallah.
Inshallah, definitely. So, guys, basically, I'm going to kick off the conversation because this conversation can be put in many different ways. So I'm going to kickstart it off with my little input that I've got for it and what I've thought of, what thoughts I've generated to answer this question. And it is basically, for us, me growing up, and maybe you guys will be able to relate. When I was at the age of 7 years old, I was already sort of like put in an environment where my parents, had sort of, I was in an environment where I had, when I was listening to Nohas and Qasidas, whatever, on the radio, in the car, at home, whether it being Nadeem Sarwar, whether it being Meesam or whatever, that was always my environment. Do you know what I mean? That was what was around me at the time. It was always around me, so I couldn't escape from that. And I think that has a big impact as well from us.
100%.
Like for us, when you're always continuously around something, obviously it's going to get to a point where you might start trying to copy someone or something like that. Eventually do it yourself. That's how it started for me, I think, personally. And going forward, I then obviously started mimicking or copying these artists who are these great artists that we look up to. And then going from there, I've found that this is something I have a passion for. I think that's really important. When I say passion, I mean it's something that I look forward to doing. So I won't say that I was forced to do this. And I think that's an issue that we have today, which is another issue that we get. Yeah. I wasn't forced to. If I was forced to do this, that means I would have had no other choice. But this is something that I grew fond of myself. I chose to do. I chose to start reciting in the name of Ahlul Bayt. I chose to start, with, my parents, gave me the opportunity and maybe wrote my name down to recite at the mosque and stuff like that. But then it's something that I like doing. They wouldn't have put me in that situation if it was the other. So from there, I feel like my own way of giving back to people that I revere, the Ahlul Bayt, people that I have love for, because at the end of the day, it's portraying love, isn't it? Whether it's sad or happiness,
right?
You're portraying your love. That's how it is. It's a form of art of portraying your love. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. We don't need to make it complicated. That's my way of doing it. And for me personally, till today, it's like I have been given a responsibility. Yeah. I'm not saying that I am anyone or I am big or someone, but I feel like it's my responsibility because I feel like if that's the case, then it's been given from somewhere. It's come from somewhere. 100%. That's what I believe truly. And going forward, I have now taken that as a responsibility, and that's my way of giving back. So to sum up, really, I feel like it's definitely, first of all, it's my passion to do it. Yeah, to recite. Yeah. And secondly, is to give back to the Ahlul Bayt, to give back to to who I feel deserve that from someone, like myself. That's my way of giving back. And I know Meesam Tamar has, we've had this conversation to ourselves, like, it's been, like 12, 13 years, and people ask us, genuinely, they ask us, they're like, guys, like, you're living in the West, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you keep up with it? Like, with all these things that we have surrounding us in this environment, in today's day and age, especially with social media and everything like that, with fame and all this stuff that tries to take over from your actual intentions. So my question actually goes to start off with Meesam Tamar, because he's someone that I look up to as an older brother who has more experience than me. So my question goes out to you, like, give us a little insight for yourself, like, how did it start for you? Yeah, that's the important thing. Yeah. Maybe the youngsters out there that are watching, if they are, they might want to know. How did you start, and like, how have you grown so far, and what brings you to this point where you are today, where you have released various albums, you have recited in other mehfils, in other places, in other locations in the name of Ahlul Bayt. What's made you stay consistent to that point? Of
course. I mean, starting the first question itself, how did I start reciting? Why did I start reciting? I'll have to give you a bit of a backstory to this, because those of you who don't know, I've been in the UK since 2007, and before 2007 I was in the German city Hamburg, I was actually born and raised at a young age in Germany, in Hamburg, and was 14 when I actually moved to the UK. I think, as Abbas mentioned just now, the fact that this is something that has actually started on us, being influenced on us at a very young age. I remember when I was a little kid, I never used to recite myself, to be honest. I was a matmi at a young age, and in Germany, in Hamburg, the silsila and the regularity of these programs is not as big, obviously, as we have in the UK, mashallah, as in the US and other cities. It's still very limited over there, you know. And our family was the kind of family that would always be involved in keeping the Anjuman running over there, in keeping the Malanas at our house, the reciters in our house. So having those kind of people already in your presence at such a young age is one factor. Then at that time, being in Germany, it used to be my father, Sajjad Haider, and my mamu, that used to read the Noha in all the majalis over there.
Okay. So it's been in your family. It's been in your family.
It has been in my family. As you're all aware, my father's a poet as well.
Of course.
Having seen that in the house, him communicating with others, I think personally saying my father has been a very, very massive impact on my kind of aspiration and passion towards this.
Wow.
Because I've already seen him at young age into this. And I think the age I started reciting was, I think it does kind of relate back to what Abbas said about the sense of responsibility. Being as a kid, what happened is, as I said to you, my father and my uncle used to read Noha. I think in 2004, my uncle moved to the US, and then it used to be my father reciting Noha alone. And I slowly just used to stand in front of him or underneath the mic, like you've seen a lot of kids sometimes do. And I just used to give him sada. I used to start reciting with him. I've messed up many times, you know, but my dad used to just quietly just let me recite along. Then slowly he started including me into his little rehearsals, I would say. Then there were other couple of individuals, people my age, some people older than me, that started reciting with us. So that journey, I think, slowly started there, not as a solo reciter, but the kind of kickstart to actually gain into reciting.
It's like imitating a little bit, innit? It's like you're looking.
It's
at
a very long process.
Like it's like a role. He's like a role model to you, isn't it? That's the thing.
It is.
That's what it's your father's, and like Imam Zain al-Abidin has written, like the rights of the father. Yeah.
100%.
Like it comes back to that. Like your father, like your father is someone that you're gonna look up to because you're always around him. You follow his actions, and his
100%.
actions are what made you fall into this, isn't it? Essentially,
100%.
basically, yeah.
Because your father is the kind of personality, the masculine personality that you look up to, as you just said. And the things they are doing, you want to become like them, or not necessarily becoming like them, but you want to follow their footsteps. And then obviously the people that are around you. And I think the kind of appreciation that you get in this kind of, I don't like to call it that way, but I would say industry, is because you're doing something that's in the path of the Ahlul Bayt, for Allah, for Rasulullah. So not only are you getting rewarded from Allah and the Ahlul Bayt, but even the kind of appreciation you get from people, you realize that it's completely different to the kind of appreciation you get from something else. And the kind of content feeling that I already felt at young age. I wouldn't say it was pride, but when somebody came over and I was maybe 9 or 10 years old and someone said, "Tak mashallah," saying "mashallah," you read well, and it's like it's something that you're overwhelmed with at such age. And it's a platform where I don't think you kind of get this kind of appreciation anywhere else. You don't get taken serious anywhere else out there at the age of 10, 11. But in the
Yeah.
path of the Ahlul Bayt, any zikr that you do from any age, the way people appreciate it is a mind-changing thing.
Subhanallah.
So
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like you said, like there, a lot of times in life or in work, when it comes to different things, and as someone that's 10 years old, you wouldn't get, if you were to give your input about something, you wouldn't get that a response back as
yeah,
when you compare it to when you're on the member reciting or whatever,
yeah,
because it's in the name of Ahlul Bayt, you're getting that love back, and you're feeling that at that age. It's amazing, isn't it? It's
yeah.
amazing when you
No,
think
it's
about it.
100%. But I'd go back to that point as well. I mean, it is 100% passion, because when you're starting from any age, at the end of the day, your reason of doing it is not for any financial incentive. It's not for any personal gain, to get any fame. It's just because you're content doing their zikr. You're kind of representing your people. It's something to make your parents proud, not only yourself having a pride being an azadar or being a Mada Khan. It's this kind of sense of responsibility that you can already start to feel at young age. And sorry, I'm making this long, but onto that journey.
No.
I moved to the UK in 2017.
Yeah.
I was very early introduced to Anjuman Pursadarane Imam Zamana Al Aslam.
Wow.
Everybody knows
Wow.
there's at Birmingham. I started attending the programs. I still, back to my point, I used to start as a matmi until one of the days I couldn't do matam because I wasn't too well, and I was just standing outside. And I started just giving jawab. I started reading Noha, and some elders from the Noha Khan, some that then kind of pushed me towards what I could read. And I kind of started that journey from there. And I was already part of APIZ over the years, becoming a Noha Khan. And what happened then is, Abbas is a witness to this. We used to have a great platform nowadays, Kasri Abu Talib. It was a place where we, as our Anjuman, our Matmis and Noha Khans, all the other Anjuman, every other program out there, which was a great platform for not only me, for even other kids, other people that would not able to be reciting other programs, other events, other places. They could come to Festival Talib and they could read. And one of the days, my dad, I still remember it was Viladat Imam Zamana Al Islam.
Yeah.
Came down today. Yes. I was listening to the Kalam for 2 or 3 days.
We've all got that one when your dad just like, I'll put your name down today. You don't have no idea.
And you still watch that video now, and you can see how badly I'm shaking. I was sweating. I couldn't speak properly, but that was the biggest icebreaker. He just put me on stage. I started reciting. Great feedback, alhamdulillah. And from there it started.
You know what, Meesam? You know what? I'm gonna cut you off there, because the thing is that there's from you just talking for about 5 minutes there's so many other subtopics that I can come up with right now. Like one being about sharing the member as well, which is what we have a problem with today as well. Like, we've got so much local talent in the UK. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got so much local talent in the UK, but a lot of the youngsters aren't getting a chance to showcase what they have. Yeah, their love. And I think we've lost Meesam, but anyways, we'll carry on. A lot of the youngsters are not getting a chance to showcase their talents, what they have, because they're not getting a chance to recite. And that's another topic that we're coming to. But let's stay within the question right now. And I'm gonna bring it to Meesam first. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the youngest last. Let's Meesam Mehdi. is I'm really interested to know about your story, because from my side, yeah, Meesam, yeah, I know we've spoken off air and stuff like that, but from my side, by the way, guys, if you have any comments and stuff like that, put it in any questions that you want to ask any of the guys on the panel, put it in the comment section. Definitely, if I get a chance to read it, I'll definitely. I'm looking at the comments right now, so I can ask straight to the viewers if it's an appropriate question and it matches the theme of the podcast. But yeah, Meesam, I've been talking too much. So from the boys that I know here, I've known you the least longest, pretty much. Yeah. And the way I got to know you was, I remember, I think someone tagged me in your Instagram videos, one of your Instagram videos, and if you're reading in your homegrown Imam Barga in Slough, obviously in London, from where you're from. And I was just genuinely confused, like, how haven't I heard of this person before? Like, on my side, like your voice, and then not only just your voice and your the way you captivate the crowd in your own style, but the fact also that you're a young, a fresh-minded poet as well, who writes in the name of the Ahlul Bayt. So in not taking too much time, I want you to sum it up. Like, how did you start really, and why did you start, in your own words, please, if you don't mind.
Firstly, to answer Abbas's first question of how did I start reciting and all that. So as Meesam already mentioned, he got that inspiration from his father. For me, it was a similar story as well. So my father had been reciting all the way from back in his Pakistan days. When he was in Pakistan, he used to be reciting majalis and stuff. So when he came here, he used to recite at the local Imam Barga as well. So essentially, as I was growing up and witnessing all of that, and I used to listen to him practice in my house and everything. So I think it's from there that interest, that passion developed essentially. So then I'd read stuff that he'd read before. So he'd teach me stuff that I've read this. You might have to start off with this. This camera just decided to die. But can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So I would essentially just learn, he'd help me rehearse stuff that he'd already read. So then I'd go, read that in the Imam Barga, then further develop on it, practice it further. And then I think it must have been the late 2000s when I came across, guys, Mankabat Khans like Mir Hassan Mir, Shadban Raza, these guys, started listening to more of them, went into that side of things, and then, started reading some of the stuff they've read, famous stuff. Then I think it's just gone from there. So just developed that, passion further, wanted to understand what's being said in the Kalam more. I think that's where it took me more to the poetry side of things as well. So, a few years later, started, reading stuff, started trying to teach myself how to read Urdu, use different dictionaries, search up words I didn't understand, all that stuff. And then started listening to more poets, as in just raw poetry, Taitullah's poetry as well. So, obviously you've heard a lot of these names before, like Bilal Kazmi in India, Akhtar Shirsali in India, Mir Takallum, Hasnan Akbar. Listening to more of these guys, just raw poetry, and trying to understand that, get the grip of that, and then Alhamdulillah with Mawla's Karam, Mawla gave me the mind, and essentially just gave me the atar to do stuff myself, Alhamdulillah, in regards to poetry.
Amazing. That's amazing. It's amazing. And so now, Meesam, you've come a long way as well in your own journey. Yeah, through the thanks to the Ahlul Bayt, thanks to God, you've come a long way yourself. And what motivates you now, to keep going and to keep producing lovely poetry that you do for Ahlul Bayt, to keep reciting in different centers that you have been around London, around the whole of UK. What motivates you? What motivates you to bring out these albums as a youngster, as someone that's, I think you're 21 years old?
Gonna be 21, inshallah.
21. Yeah, so basically nearly 21 years old. Someone of that age, what motivates you right now? I know it's a hard question, but it's something that I'd like to know.
It is quite a deep question, and it requires a lot of time, but I'm only going to just sum it up, a couple of minutes. So the first motivation factor that I feel I had in my life was my father, as I mentioned before. So listening to him, having that mahal, every day would essentially be listening to Nohe before going to bed or whatever. So that's basically essentially my routine as a kid as well. So I've been exposed to this from a long time. So I think it's just built up from there over the years. And then obviously, as I mentioned, going into poetry as well, listening to that stuff, reading, learning, being in contact with the seniors, ustad poets, getting guidance from them. So I think it's just that has developed it further and increased my passion for it as a whole, essentially, I think. What I'd say.
And then again, Meesam, Carry on. No problem.
So I think essentially is the fact that at the end of the day, if you know you're doing it for Muhammad or Ali Muhammad, then there's no greater motivational factor than knowing that you're being a part of their zikr, a part of their legacy, essentially.
Yeah, that's a great point. And again, one thing I derive from that again is that you use the word passion.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Abbas Bhai and everyone here, that's all it requires is passion, time, and effort, essentially, in what you do to produce the best quality stuff you can.
Definitely, no doubt, and I 100% agree with you, and I think Yusuf, when it comes to passion, we're talking about passion. I think we all know as people as followers of Yusuf, that that's one of Yusuf's passion as well, because we've seen it blossom in him in the last year or so, as he's taking up his own journey as well. Yusuf, sorry, I'm going to ask you just for the viewers now. How old are you right now?
I'm 16 years old.
16 years old, yeah, 16 years old. Someone that's been around London as well, grown up in London. He's again same thing. It's a common theme across all of us individually. I know his father has had a big role in his upbringing. Yeah, and obviously we can't forget our mothers too. They are the reason why we have the love of Ali Muhammad in our hearts. They are the reason our mothers are. But the thing is, the father, in terms of someone that we look up to, because they're always around us. When we go to the mosques, when they take us to other places, they're around us. And again, Yusuf's dad is a big inspiration to all of us. Someone that I've seen as a a kid running around mosques in Stanmore and stuff like that, who I've seen on the pulpit as well, reciting and stuff like that. Yusuf, you're 16 years old, so tell me about your story a little bit, and share what your thoughts are about the main question of why you started reciting and what's keeping you going today.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salam to all viewers. First of all, I'm really grateful to be here once again. Jazakallah Abbas Bhai for organizing such a great program. So, in terms of reciting, it's not something which I really organized. It's something that naturally came to me. The first time I ever recited in public must have been at the age of 4 or 5 at Babul Murad Center in London. And since the age of 4 or 5, my father, he's been making me join him whenever he used to recite. Even if I just used to sit next to him, I used to listen to him. So relating to all your points, our parents are definitely a huge role in this. And furthermore, it is a blessing from the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But furthermore, the name Imam Hussein alayhi salam has just been in my life since the first day I came into this world. Be it in the car, be it at the dinner table, anywhere, we're just listening to either Nohas or just discussing about the mosque or anything about the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So it's really had a huge effect on me. And as Abbas Bhai said, it is a great passion and it's something I really love. It's not something that my parents really forced me to do. Well, alhamdulillah, they did encourage me to be where I am today. And I still have a very long journey ahead of me. But alhamdulillah, it's all their du'as and just the small effort we try to put in to make Bibi Salamullahi alayhi proud.
Very well said.
That's very, very, very well said. Very well said. And you're right. It is again about making them proud. That's what we feel. But I've got a question. I've got this question out to everyone now. So this is where the discussion basically starts. That was sort of like an individual, answer for each of our journeys and what we've gone through to get to the stage that we are at now. Alhamdulillah. Do you ever sometimes feel question yourself in this whole process, in the sense that this is going to be this could be a long discussion, but maybe you've been in that situation where people are starting to appreciate what you do, yeah, and again, that comes from up there, and that comes from, you know, something that you've been given because of your intentions and stuff like that. But do you sometimes ever get sidetracked in the sense that you start, you know, reciting places, you start maybe releasing a couple of tracks, singles, and a couple of albums, people start showing appreciation, people start acknowledging who you are. What advice can you give to those people that are in the same situation to sort of stay focused? That's one thing that I've noticed is it's really hard in this era, in this lifestyle of breaking up, because like Shaitan's there, we know that, yeah. There's always there's always people there as well, yeah, that are gonna try and push you a certain way, yeah, to make you feel a certain way. And it's about the self-control, it's about your will, self-control, to stay humble, to stay focused on what you're actually doing. But I want to put this question out, so whoever wants to go for it can start. Like, what's important? How do you keep yourself grounded? How do you keep yourself, you know, focused on your intentions? If anyone wants to answer first.
If I have all of your permission, I think first, the main point of this recitations, your khulus, your intention has to be pure, because if there's no intention, clean intention, then there's not really. It's, in good words, it's a bit pointless to do the zikr of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, because if you think about what people are thinking about you and what the environment's like, then you're just basically your point of reciting, the purpose of reciting is not really pure. So I think you just have to make sure that your intention is clean, and always know that Mawla al-Islam is happy with you if your intention is clean.
But the thing is, and again, this is the thing, I agree with you, but I feel like this is the problem, I think, with this area, yeah, is that, you know, me and Meesam Mehdi have had conversation about this, that maybe me and you started it for that reason, yeah, but I feel like the industry is going in a certain direction now where people are gaining a lot of popularity from it, yeah. Even, I don't like using the word industry, but it's my only way to sort of capture this whole thing that we're in, because it's become an industry, it's formed into an industry. It's my only way of describing it. But people are sort of like going, I look, from what I've seen with, like, from what I can sort of say from the experience that I've had, the little experience I've had, from what I've seen, is there are some people that are doing it for different reasons. Yeah, I'm not going to take anyone's name, but the industry is going in that way. Meesam, like, what do you like? I don't know even how to say this, but like, for those people, like, how do we as a community now have to come together and try and, this is why these podcasts are here, basically. We're telling youngsters that, you know, that's not why we do what we do. Like, I can speak for myself. Yeah, like, Meesam, have you got any words about that?
Which Meesam?
Mehdi.
Acha. Essentially, bro, as you said, Shaitan is always there, yeah? And obviously, like, Eid's coming in, so he's coming back now, isn't it? So, and obviously, you know.
Unless he's in lockdown himself.
We've lost Meesam again, I think. We lost Meesam. Okay, I can add him back.
Sorry, man, I think Shaitan came to get me or something, but yeah, man. It's, as you said, he's always there. He's obviously got that, you know, as they say in Arabic, that waswasa, he's got that whispering going on and stuff. So it's always, you know, as long as you know in your heart what you're doing and why you're doing it. The key thing is you got to know why you're doing it. You know, that intention, with that understanding, and as we always go back to that passion. So
Oh no.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Right. So at the end of the day, man, I think, as well as, you know, having that passion, that you know, that appreciation that you get from your community, is also that effort you put into it, as in, you know, your practice, or, you know, your riyaz that you do, and just know why you're doing it, essentially.
That's so key as well. Guys, anyone want to jump in on what Meesam said there?
Yeah, I think I'd like to carry on from there. I mean, as he just mentioned, and you in
the conversation, if you want to jump in, just jump in. Like, that's the whole. I want this to be a discussion between us.
As you mentioned in your question as well, Abbas, and as Meesam just said as well, I think it all comes down to your maqsad, your purpose, why you're getting into all of this. As you mentioned, there are people that might join this industry or get themselves into reciting just because they want fame. And I'm not throwing this out there to anybody saying that X, Y, and Z is doing this for fame. No. But the fact you got to establish, number one, why are you doing this? What got you into this? And as you gradually grow yourselves as a reciter, I mean, Abbas, you know yourself, all of you guys that are here, you know yourselves, you know, we don't do this for financial gains. And yes, there are people that are making very, very good money off this. And yes, they deserve so because of all the efforts, the stuff that they actually put out there for the audience. But it ultimately still comes down to your maqsad. And I think, Abbas, you mentioned the question, how do you keep yourself humble? And I think that all comes down to whether you stick to your maqsad.
Wow.
Whether you stick to your maqsad, because if making the Ahlul Bayt and Bibi Razi is your own maqsad, then all the other external factors around there should never matter, and you should always stay humble. But if in any way your behavior has changed, or you realize yourself that, you know, I'm not myself no more, then I think with this zikr as well, it's always a self-analysis for yourself as well, because you're on stage for the X amount of time and people see you as that person, but you know yourself that you have a different life out there as well. You live a different life, you know. You go back home and you think there have been times where I've received comments and feedback from people, and I think to myself, you know, Mullah has given me so much love and respect out there. Am I worthy of that?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's a self-dialogue with yourself. If I am, then yes, I should carry on doing so, but I should still stay humble. If I'm not, then I should look into the zikr I'm doing and look and find out myself what I'm doing wrong that's caused this. So I think it's the zikr that we do is the kind of zikr that always keeps us humble as well, because our hasniya, the people that we follow, they have always taught us to be that way. So I think the main thing to stay humble and to stay on your track is to keep remembering your maqsad. It's like any business that opens up. Just a little example: any business that opens up sets their objectives, their aims and goals, what they want to achieve, and I think it's the same thing. It's a self kind of analysis on yourself, and you kind of gradually grow yourself.
Is that not? It's the thing. It's your soul, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's connected to your soul. It's the same thing. It's that self. It's that self. It all comes down to, like, you know, the prophets. The prophet has mentioned a lot about, you know, self meditation. Yeah. Spending a lot of time yourself, thinking
Great
about.
Point you're raising there.
You know, it is about that, because it's key. Because I tell you why. Because the thing is, when you're self meditating, or I'm in trouble with getting Meesam on, but I think it's still there. But when you're continuously thinking about yourself and keeping yourself in check, you know, and not just with recitation, it can be anything in life. Yeah. It can be whether it's your work and you know, sports balance, work, religion balance, sports and religion balance. Could be anything. But the reason for, I feel, I'm not no scholar or anything, but I feel from common sense, the reason for these periods of self-meditation is for us to have a self-analysis, for us to have a self-check on ourselves. You know what I'm trying to say? Because we are keeping our souls in contact with whatever we feel is right, and what is right for us is what we've been taught from the teaching of Islam. You know what I'm trying? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
And if you don't mind, I'd like the idea and the ideology of meditation that you've used in there. Yeah. That's another reason I would say a lot of us maybe recite, and the reason that keeps us humble and on this path is the fact that I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same way, that when you are doing zikr, you are in a different dimension, you're in a different world.
Yeah.
there are moments in time where the audience that's in front of you may not actually be visible to you anymore. You're in a completely state of mind. And the reason why I like what you said, meditation, it's something that has been promoted in Islam as well. And the main reason of meditation is actually to give your soul some time and for your soul to kind of re-energize. And in this zikr, especially, I'm the kind of person, I'd throw it out there to everybody, the kind of feeling I have myself when I'm reading a Noha or a Salam or a Mursiya is a different kind of feeling as to reading a Manqabat. And Abbas has recited alongside with me, and he knows when it comes to Nohas, I like to keep my eyes closed. I like to go into that kind of another dimension and feel what it is. And I think that's one of the things that I've always been told at a young age as well. If you guys are all aware of Ustad Raza Ali Khan, he said to me years ago, everything that you do, you need to make sure that you do it with understanding and with feeling. You need to understand and feel what you're doing and what you're reciting. So if you're reading a Mursiya, you need to make sure you kind of portray that sorrow and grief. And I think that's another kind of dimension as well. The fact that we feel self-content after doing zikr is another thing that keeps us on this. I wouldn't like to call it that, but I think it's a self-addiction as well, because the feeling that you have when you're doing zikr is out of this world.
I definitely agree, mashallah.
Is there anything to say after that?
Yeah, I was just going to add a bit to Meesam Bhai's point.
It's a great point, actually. It's a great point.
The way he did say, of course, it's not something you want to call as a self-addiction, but it's something which people are just doing for the fame, as the topic has been said. But it's connected to our namaz, our Quran, and our everyday actions which we're doing. It's not like in the daytime you do something like wrong, and then at night you just say, okay, I'm going to do the zikr. The zikr is not created for this point. It definitely relies on your everyday life, your actions. And as Meesam Bhai said, he's also been taught by his elders, Ustad Raza Ali Khan Sahab. So we have to constantly also listen to our elders, because they've been doing it for a long time, and they definitely passed advice, and their advice is always to remain humble.
100%. And the thing is as well, like going back to Meesam's point, is that you said, it's a chance for you, it's a time for you where you put yourself in a different frame of mind, into a zone, which shows me that you're doing it for not the purpose of, everyone's watching you, you're on the spotlight, whether you're reciting in a group or reciting on you're doing a solo. It's not for the purpose of you being in the spotlight, but really for me, how I take it and how I see it is when we recite in the mosques or as a group or wherever the location may be, the way I view it is that it's for me when because people still have a problem with apparently rituals that people do across the globe in different religions. And so when I look at like what I do personally, for me it's like reciting a dua. When you're reciting a dua, and you're asking God for to give you to show His mercy upon you, asking Him to forgive you for your wrongdoings, etc. That's what you ask for. For His bounty, for His mercy to be showered upon you. Essentially, in dua, that's what you're asking for. You're self-cleansing yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're self-cleansing. That's the whole purpose of that, is that you're self-cleansing yourself. That's how I see it, guys. I'm not speaking for anyone else. This is me personally. So it's the same thing when I'm reciting stuff about Imam Hussein. About Bibi Zainab, about Lady Zainab. About the Prophet Mohamed upon him and his family. It's the same thing essentially, because they're the closest to God. So reciting in their name, in their honor, it's like a chance for me to self-cleanse myself, to remind me that these are the ideas, are the people Yeah, these are the personalities that I revere, that I look up to, for me to become closer to my God. Yeah, to a God that I see, and who I see is closest.
Yeah.
So again, it's the same thing. It's the same process that that relates to what you said earlier.
I think, yeah, as Yusuf said as well, I think it's not just a kind of a hobby that we have, or a passion, or something that we just like to do. What a lot of people tend to forget as well, it's not something that we just do for a number of amount of time and then we're a different person. It's our lifestyle. This is our life. This is something. There is so much going on behind everything that they don't see. There's so much going on. You might have a whole day being spent on that, but nobody knows about that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about there, because it's a lifestyle. You adjust everything in your life according to recitation. It's a commitment that you make to yourself. How many of us have been there where we're rushing from work to a majalis, and for what reason? What are we doing this for? It's just because we have that loyalty and the kind of commitment to Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And it's something that we see as a duty.
Definitely.
And though nobody has given us that duty in paper or anything, saying that this is your responsibility now, but I think, as Abbas just summed it up as well, it's all to do with your life, your lifestyle. How Yusuf just said about it's connected to your prayers and everything. So it's connected to every single thing that you do.
Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, I want to follow from that. Meesam Mehdi, you wanna?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I had issues with my camera and mic and everything, so sorry about that.
No worries.
So I think essentially, as you said, leading up from it's essentially a lifestyle as Adari, and reciting and everything. It's something it's a big commitment and a big responsibility, as you all mentioned. And but to maintain that, obviously we're humans, so we need some motivational factors, and that can be in the form of appreciation from people, or mu'mineen, encouragement and stuff like that. And I think one of the main motivation factors, what I've experienced, and I'm guessing all of you have experienced the same as well, definitely, is parents. And we mentioned at the beginning as well, man. And stuff that parents have done is key and valuable. I'll give you a bit of personal experience.
Please.
When I started reciting from 6, 7, 8 years old, it was actually my mother who used to sit down with me, write all the lyrics down, go over the Quran with me, practice it for majlis the next day or whatever. So I think the time and effort that our parents have put in is something that I think needs to be, well, especially for me, has to be appreciated and talked about as well.
I agree, man.
I know I've stated it in a different direction, but I just felt that.
It's true.
Key. You know what? Let's move on to that. Yeah, let's move on to that, because that's key. Like, I don't think people realize. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ayam Zadar. Thank Ali Hussain. Thanks, Konain, for commenting. Thanks. Please, guys. We're gonna be here for at least another 20 minutes or so. But we hope that you're enjoying the conversation. And please stay with us, and please spread this stream out to everyone that that might be interested in watching something like this. Please spread the stream out, and inshallah, if you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel as well. And definitely from us going forward, there is going to be more stuff like this. So definitely, but yeah, going back to the conversation, I think that's something that gets underlooked on a lot, by the way. Yeah. Not one thing is our parents, no doubt, they get the most credit. For allowing us to be in this position that we're in, in anyone, if they're in a position to serve the Ahlul Bayt, whatever it may be, whether it's car parking, volunteering, whether it's donating blood, whether it's giving charity, whether it's being in the service to Ahlul Bayt, it's our parents that have put us on that path.
100%.
We've been guided. But the thing is, also what thing I realized is underlooked on in our communities is the time and effort these reciters like yourselves have put in behind the scenes. Because that's something that you've chosen to do. Like, there is a myth, I believe, and this might be a bit controversial, but it is a bit of a myth when people say, he's God gifted. It's just God gifted. Yeah, I believe that as well. Yes, it has come from a point where, you know, you've been gifted you've been given that as your responsibility, like we said earlier. But at the same time, you know, you guys are putting the effort in yourself, day and night, to put in the practice. If you're reciting at the center the next day, you're gonna, you know, get that material. You're gonna sit down for at least 3-4 hours, maybe even the whole day sometimes, which I have done my personally, and gone through that piece of material. You're putting that effort in, you're putting that time in as well, which is something that's not seen in the and it might not even be their fault, I guess. But people need to start to understand and appreciate that what we're doing essentially is still a piece of art. It's a form of art.
It is.
Whether it's gifted or not gifted, a lot of it has come due to the fact that we have put time in ourselves as well. Where I'm not saying that I am anybody, I'm a somebody. No, I'm just saying that we need to show appreciation to these guys that are at the highest level as well. In this
of course,
time they put in, the effort they put in to be able to perform in certain ways, to be able to be, you know, amazing at what they do.
I mean, I think leading on from that, Abbas, but I think you said it's like a form of art and it requires that appreciation. I mean, the people I think who are going to give you the most appreciation is the people who are doing that, who are doing this art, who have been through the process, because they know what it takes, you know, to reach, you know, a certain level or be, you know, a certain way. And the fact that, you know, as in you mentioned the God gifted thing, you know, the myth, I partially agree with you on that as well. In a way, because God gifted is, you know, up to a certain extent. Like, God's not going to create you and be like, you know, I'm going to make you the best reciter. And, you know, you're going to have to work for that, put the time, effort, you know, you have to put all of that stuff in to, you know, achieve a certain level. And at the end of the day, as I think it's been a common, you know, theme within this whole discussion, has been that passion. The more passion you have, the more, you know, it's like an attraction you have towards the zikr, essentially. And the more stronger it gets, the more effort you automatically put in, you know, the more time 100%. You put in. And, you know, it just builds up from there, I think.
And it's like that saying, isn't it? I think it's from the, I can't remember exactly from who, so I'm not going to say, but it's from personalities that we revere. You know, I think it's the saying, maybe, I don't know, but it's something to do with like, you take one step.
And you come to something.
Yeah, exactly. And God says, I'll take 1,000 steps for you.
Exactly.
It's actually the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, just because any piece of art, whatever, just because if it is God gifted, you still have to, you know, God wants to see as well. Like, you know, I've given him something, but is he going to put the time in for me to give him back?
Exactly.
To get something in return, to get an output. What do you think, Meesam? What do you think?
No, it's 100% true. It's 100% true. I think I'd like to obviously carry on with that point as well. And yeah, it definitely is on that point. I mean, as we touched upon earlier as well, the fact that people don't know what kind of work goes behind it. And as you said, you know, we're not blaming people, because at the end of the day, that person just sees the performance or the recitation at that time and bases their evaluation on what they've just seen on that time. You know, a person might watch other reciters' 5-minute new monk, but they've listened to it in 5 minutes and they've come to the evaluation, oh, it's good, oh, it's bad. No. But look at the amount of work that goes behind it. I mean, for those people that don't know, let me just summarize for you, because all of us on here have gone through studio experience. And yes, people's comments, feedback, criticism is all welcomed, but it needs to be constructive as well, because what you need to remember is help somebody out there with your criticism and your feedback as well, because it could be vital. But there is so much work that goes behind it, and it's, as Meesam just said as well, it's got so many branches of discussions that you can go on into, because your passion can lead you into so many ways. And it's just crazy because it's all passion. You get in touch with a poet to get yourself a kalam. That's your passion. In order for you to even make your decision and niyyah to work on something is your passion, because you don't have a producer sitting behind you. You don't have a team sitting behind you. It's all you. You put in the time in on Skype sessions. You put in time in with the composer. You put in time in with the studio people. you're getting yourself into the studio, you're getting yourself into various sessions, you're working on polishing up your vocals in the studio. There's so much, and then it doesn't even stop there. After that, after you've recorded yourself, I know how a Monkabat or whatever track there is, then it's time for you to get your mix and mastering, your video, your every content out there to get that track out there. It's such a long process. I have been involved with Abbas in as in seeing him work on a couple of tracks. We spoke about it ages ago, and 2 years later he's releasing it. I'm like, oh, we spoke about that 2 years ago. And it's, you know,
not anymore. Not in recent times, but yeah.
No, but obviously you're working on things like there's a couple of things I've been working on for so many years, and I still haven't been able to maybe even come close to it. And that's because there's certain things out there where we do actually keep our crowd in consideration, because at the end of the day we want to give them something that they will like, but there's a lot to account for, and obviously we'll talk about these kind of things in the discussions further on. But I think yes, it ultimately comes down to your passion. As Meesam said, it's how much work you put in, and your end product and your output is all dependent on your input.
You know what? Let's touch on this now, because Shahidari Khaki's brought in a really, really, really important comment here. And again, we're talking about passion. Yeah, we're talking about what people do to portray their own service to the Ahlul Bayt. Yeah, and Shahidari put on. I'm going to read this comment to everyone on the stream. Yeah, by the way, Shahidari Khaki, one of my cousins, someone that I look up to as well. Really enjoying this conversation, mashallah. A shout out to all the technicians and engineers committed to this cause as well. And again, same thing, like we said, a different type of service, nothing different, guys.
Definitely.
Any youngsters out there, any youngsters out there have to recite. Look, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have appreciated if my parents forced me to do this.
Yeah,
and I didn't want to do it. You don't have to get your kids to recite.
Yeah,
definitely.
As long as they're doing something for more line, essentially, whether it be technicians, behind the scenes, camera, parking, anything that's related to the service of Mola, at least you're doing your bit, essentially, whether it be reciting, poetry, whatever it is.
Exactly, and the same thing, Shahidari Khaki, whoever knows in the UK, people don't know, who's part of an AV team that from the Stanmore Mosque, Hujjat. What's the name of the mosque, Yusuf?
KSIMC Stanmore.
KSIMC Stanmore. Hujjat Imam Barga, that's in Stanmore in London. He's a big part of the AV team there. Definitely. Yeah, he's putting a lot of time. I mean, I've seen this guy sweat.
I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah, like Yusuf knows more, and Meesam, because they live in London. I've seen this guy sweat. Just thinking about how to set up, an event or how to make it and as perfect as possible. And he's got that passion for it, and it's the same thing. There's no little, there's no more, there's no less or more. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yusuf, I'm going to come to you on this question. We always use speak as well. Ashik, this is my elder brother Ashik Damani. I think what he's asked is, he's got Salam Brothers, fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of questions. Number one, what technique do you use for overcoming nerves? Wow, that's a big question. For young reciters, what advice do you have if opportunities to recite is limited? And we touched upon this very basically. So, to end the discussion off, we can go to that argument. But someone that's 16 years old, and I know that if it's the same that Ashik Bar that I know, then I know that he's got a son who's 9 years old, Aliza, who's there's more people like him who are interested in reciting and stuff like that. What advice as a 16-year-old, because you're still upcoming, what advice would you say, what have you done to sort of overcome nerves? What's helped for you?
As we've repeated many times, mashallah, our parents are definitely a huge role. But we also do need to remember that when we are reciting, the huge key stage of this journey is that Bibi Fatima is present wherever we are, be it at home, be it the Imam Barga. We need to know that BB could be Hazir right now in this conversation, because as I said, this is my main point. As a young reciter, I try my best, looking up to all of you, Abbas Bhai, Meesam Bhai, and Meesam Tamar Bhai from Birmingham. I look up to all of you, and connected to this, I try to just make sure that my intention is always clean, and make sure that when I'm reciting, I'm also a support to the other young reciters which are also upcoming. Because as you said, there are many young reciters, even under the age of 16, under the age of 10, young reciters who really want to get involved. But I think it's the disencouragement they have, and they don't have the correct environment around them. So I think to make sure that you go correctly and maturely to this zikr of Mawla alayhi salam, just make sure that you know who you're reciting for, the purpose is clean, and just make sure that you keep on going forward, and make sure that it's something there, like it's not something just on the side. It's a commitment to you, and it's an amanat from Bibi. She's given you this blessing. She's given you this blessing, and it's not something that you just get like that. Personally, I can
very big
experience, because since young, it's been a very long journey for me. In fact, since the age of 4, it's been very, very long. So I just make sure that my khulus is in clean intentions.
So no doubt. And another thing as well is like, okay, I agree with you in what you said, 100%. But for someone that's like his son, that's 9 years old, yeah, to think about those things might not be, you know,
definitely
an everyday thought. Like, when you become more mature, you start to understand. So, Meesam, any of the two Meesams, what advice can you give for someone that age? You know, to even just like tips, like actual tips. You know, it could be breathing or whatever. One of you go for it, shoot first. What advice can you give for someone at that age who is maybe 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old?
Probably just practicing first, I think, in front of home, parents at home, siblings, so you get a bit of an experience essentially as to what it's going to be like reciting in a jush, in a mehfil, or whatever it is that you're reciting in. Another thing that probably might help, and this is what I used to do as a kid as well, was have my eyes closed so you don't actually see
I know that one. It's like
in the beginning days, it was a continuous theme for me. So I know how that feels.
It does help.
Yeah, it does.
It's similar to looking at a picture and when you're getting your injection done.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, from there it just builds on. I think your confidence grows. The more you do it, the more experience you get. And also, I think for me, somebody was going to say something. I think.
Yeah.
No. Carry on. Finish your point.
So essentially, I think it is just that experience that that you have.
That's key.
The more you do it, the more open, the more confident you'll get, and essentially, coming out your shell. I think.
Yeah.
Inshallah, it'll all go well.
Yeah, as Meesam just said it now as well. Obviously, the fact that I think you need to be consistent in this. As the brother has mentioned, if the opportunity to recite is limited. At the end of the day, as we touched upon earlier as well, if you stay on your purpose, then you will carry on going no matter what challenges that you face. If opportunities are limited, then just keep reciting, whether that's you at home, whether that's in a method that only consists of very few people, wherever you get an opportunity, just take it. Never look. I mean, an advice I would give to youngsters out there is never look at the size of the crowd. Because as Yusuf just said, that Bibi might be present. So you might be only sitting with your father in your own room and with full khulus reading, your Bibi could be there. You might be in a mehfil of 1 million people and Bibi, she could be anywhere. So it's remembering the fact that you are doing the zikr for them, and I think that will keep you going. And obviously to kind of tackle the worldly challenges, to overcome nerves, I think as Meesam just said, it's something that slowly comes with experience as well. I mean, one thing that I was told by some seniors at that time was, look at yourself in the mirror when you're reciting at home.
That's an
You know?
interesting one. That's an
Wow.
Look at
interesting
yourself in the mirror, the way you're interacting, because your interaction with the crowd is just something very vital as well. Obviously, when you're starting off young, and as Meesam said, you know, keeping your eyes closed is a solution. But at the end of the day, we're in front of a crowd, so crowd control is a massive factor as well. So
Definitely.
you just need to be, I think, you need to be confident with yourself, and you need to know that you're on the stage and people are listening to you. And Alhamdulillah, the kind of zikr that we do, even if we do make mistakes, people still appreciate. This is not something that we do for casting for a job or anything, you know, for kind of career in that sense where we think, oh, I might have messed up and this is all over for me. No, keep doing what you're doing and keep staying on this purpose, and you will get your reward from BB.
Wow.
It's a great point you make there. And another thing as well, I have to address as well, because like I felt this in the past as well. I remember when I was like, 11 years old, 12 years old, you know, people remember that video of me standing on a chair reciting in Bradford. Yeah. Meesam, you'll remember. And I remember like before those occasions, I used to be very, very nervous, like very, very nervous. Yeah. And like Meesam said, I can relate to him when he mentioned time. It is an experience factor, I think. It is experience. You will feel nervous. If you don't feel nervous, you're not normal in my eyes.
Definitely.
Even the people who are reciting in front of the biggest crowds, like your Meesam and stuff, I can tell you from now 100%, that when they first started, they would have felt nervous.
100%.
Before going in crowds. It's just an human natural feeling. Before you do something.
It just shows you take it seriously, innit? Essentially.
Exactly.
You want to perform your best. The only thing I can say is don't let the nerves get the best of you, because it's how you can. It's how you control your nerves. If you're gonna go out there and perform and control your nerves, eventually, every time you do it, eventually you'll find a way to overcome it. That's what I feel. So don't let the nerves come in the way. Number one. Number two. Young reciters, and this is a big problem that we have. I'm going to finish. I don't want to make this podcast too long, but I'm going to finish off here. But the last topic of the conversation, I think we have to do more as a community to help these young reciters get into the field. I think that's more important. I feel like, because like Meesam, you mentioned about Messam Haider, you had mentioned that you had Qasr Abu Talib as your platform. You had a platform. Remember, a lot of youngsters. Don't have a platform. They didn't have a platform. Did you get it? And they don't have a platform today. So it means that we could have lost a potential very, very key or amazing reciters that we've lost because they didn't have a platform. And there's kids out there right now who have amazing voices, who are still interested, but don't have a platform. So as a community, I feel like we need to change that. Like if, for example, like I'm talking to myself here first before I talk to everyone else. For example, I'm getting a slot somewhere at the mosque. If there is someone that I know that lives in the same city as me and got potential, it's my now responsibility to I've had my chance. Let me pass this on to that person who hasn't had a chance. How would he feel after that? Number one. Number two, he's gaining that experience. It's gonna be good for his experience. It's gonna be good for him in the future. So what do you think, Meesam Mehdi? Like, what do you think about that idea?
I mean, it's a really good point you raised, and essentially, I feel, that it's the same thing as well. Like, communities need to do more to promote their, not even just their local talent. Like, when, for example, when a child recites, comes on Mimbar for the first time, or he's just starting out, sometimes the vibe that we get is they don't get the appreciation that they should get. And sometimes that could be a factor, because obviously at the end of the day, they're just kids and they look for tangible, motivational factors that they can see. So because they're not getting enough appreciation and motivation, that could eventually lead to them stopping reciting. So I think motivation and, and appreciation from communities is key. The communities who have done, a lot of appreciation and like hats off to the Khoja community for doing this, because I've seen this with my own eyes as well. And mashallah, they do a really good job of promoting the young up and coming children reciters. And, and the way they nurture them as well, essentially into their niyat, their overall performance and all of that stuff. So it's, it's really good that they do that. And I think every community can learn from, essentially from what they've done in order to promote and appreciate young talent.
But that's an amazing point, and hopefully, like you said, the Khoja, the Khoja crowds and the management of the Khoja Mamargas that are, it stems from them that are giving youth the chance to recite. We need to try and sort of, as people that are in this field, we need to try and sort of spread that amongst to everyone else, and maybe take it upon ourselves now, let's get the youth. Let's pass it on to the youth, the people who are younger than us as well. The 9-year-olds, the 10-year-olds that if they're showing interest at that age, you have to give something to them to lean on
100%.
to. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Guys,
related to this last final point, you guys must have heard of the annual Yom Samra program that happens at Stanmore. Mashallah, you must have seen that there's before the reciters that come from worldwide. There's always Youth Azadari Drive group.
Wow.
This is a huge, great platform which has been set up by Uncle Riaz Rajabali and Hussain Virji and Abdul Uncle Virji, who have done a great job for over 12 years now, and is welcome to all ages, both boys and girls, and young children who are being given the encouragement, and they are being aware that is something they should keep on continuing to do. And this platform, I think there should be more like these platforms around worldwide to make sure that the youngsters know that they have someone to look up to and they're ready to give them support.
100%.
Couldn't agree with you anymore.
It is very vital. It is very, very vital. I mean, because at the end of the day, the reason why the support from the community is important, because you support the person at this time now, and at the end of the day, after 4 or 5 years, he's going to give back to the community. It's a service at the end of the day, because he's not only going to be giving it back to the community, he is representing you. He's got a chance of representing you at a global level. Not only is he making your bargah or your city or your country, but it should be a kind of a pride for the community to even have youth present that are interested in these kind of matters instead of being out there and doing other things. That's one thing. And the yard group that you just mentioned, it's something that I actually really, really enjoy seeing all the time, because it shows the dedication of the community and the bargah itself, how much time and effort they're investing into their youth and putting their youth forward. Because I personally know myself of some people that are not into reciting anymore, sadly, because of the response they receive from the crowd. And I think that's a failure for that specific community if a person feels that way.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, individually the person should obviously make sure that they keep all the standards, but when a person is upcoming and starting new, the community needs to take these kind of things into consideration, because it is sad to see at times, and this might be a very controversial thing to say. People might not understand the kalam. I might go there in a community and recite a kalam, and people might be quiet, but the official reciter of the kalam might turn up 10 minutes after and read the same thing, and people will be like, wow, 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 wow. So you're not listening for the sake of the zikr, you're listening for the sake of the reciter.
That's such a good point, man.
It's a self-reality check for those people out there attending programs as well, whether they're fulfilling their purpose being in the majma.
They should be the one that, I'm sorry, I got to point this out, but they should be the ones that are setting an example for the youngsters themselves. And they're considered the elders. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And that's another shame. Look, guys, we've had an amazing discussion today. I'm going to thank you guys again for joining the first podcast that we've ever done in terms of for this subject and stuff like that. I want to thank everyone that's commenting. I missed a couple of comments, so someone that I know very well, another brother of mine from Peterborough. He said, "Stay safe and carry on the good work you're doing. One love to you all." So, as
Love and respect to you
tuning
as well.
in, inshallah, on as well. Also, we had a comment here. Kunain asked when the next discussion. I don't have a set date right now, but we are. Look, I am going to get the same guests on again for definitely Meesam Yusuf and Meesam Tamar is going to be with me anyway. We're going to get. We're definitely going to get Meesam Mehdi and Yusuf Okera back 100% onto the podcast. And thank them for joining us. We had a request from Mohamed. Who said, I think this is the perfect way to end off. We've all given our input now of why we started reciting. It started off with that, the journey of the podcast and travel to, our next time you can answer our questions. Listen, we still have questions. Put them in before we finish. We can try and end off answering a couple more if there's no problem in that. So Khalil, if you want to put your questions in the comments box, put them in, please. No problem. But yeah, we all just talked about our journeys through why we're reciting, and how we got to this point today where we're still doing it and trying to stay humble and as motivated as when we first started, and hungry, and the time, effort we put in, and etc. We covered a lot of a range of things, but I think it's the perfect way to finish it off is to show, to give something back, like what we have been doing for the years of service that we have been doing. So I'm going to request everyone just one, literally, Astai Sani Antra. Yeah. Just one verse, just keep it short. I think we'll start with Yusuf, the youngest in the crew. Anything of your choice, anything that your favorite, anything what you want to do, go for it.
I'll just start with Char Misri, inshallah, and that's my first be done, inshallah.
No, go for it.
और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम। वो नूर जिसको शहे मशरक़ैन कहते हैं, वो नूर जिसको शहे मशरक़ैन कहते हैं, उसी को नूरे खुदा नूरे ऐन कहते हैं। बिखर गया तो वही नूर कायनात बना, सिमट गया तो उसी को कहते हैं, सिमट गया तो उसी को हुसैन कहते हैं। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
The uniqueness I find in Yusuf's voice, is like his bass. Yeah, his bass, the way it ranges from low to high. I think it's amazing how you can do that, and inshallah, I hope God gives you more, and I'll give you more, inshallah. We'll move on forward quickly. Meesam Mehdi, please, can you do something of your own choice, something you like, something you want to.
Literally nothing's okay. Something's come to mind. Inshallah, just one. Ek masla, ek sher, and inshallah, after that. And there's also something that Abbas Bhai used to buy like as well.
Bismillah.
वाह
नज़ारा ऐसा कभी
वाह वाह
क्या कहने
इससे पेशतर ना हुआ।
क्या बात है।
नज़ारा ऐसा कभी इससे पेशतर ना हुआ। लहद से प्यास की दरिया जो दर बदर
दर बदर ना हुआ।
नज़ारा ऐसा
क्या सुर है, वाह
इससे पेशतर ना हुआ
वाह वाह
फुरात प्यास के मारे
आहा,
कुछ इतनी सूख गई
सुभान अल्लाह सुभान अल्लाह
फुरात
क्या
प्यास
कहने,
के
आहा
मारे कुछ
क्या बात है
इतनी सूख गई उठाया चुल्लू में पानी तो
वाह
हाथ तर ना
आह
हुआ
वाह वाह
आह
सुभान अल्लाह, क्या कहने,
नजारा है सो कभी
आहा,
आहा
इससे पेशतर ना हुआ
सुभान अल्लाह सुभान अल्लाह Allahumma
वाह
salli
वाह
ala
वाह
Muhammad wa ala
वाह
Muhammad. Amazing as always, beautiful recitation. By
क्या
the way,
कहने,
just letting you know, guys, we should give credit where credit's due. Meesam himself, wrote this kalam himself in the language of Urdu, and
Mola gave it.
from his
बेशक,
own words, he's saying that Mola gave it to him, no doubt, and his own effort, his own passion that has given the sort of the intuition for Mola to then say, I'm going to give this to Meesam because he deserves it for his effort that he's put in. Basically, what we said in our discussion. Meesam Haider, if you've got anything you'd like to share with us.
Just same as everyone, just एक बंद आपके सामने
Okay.
बीवी फातिमा के हवाले से
Go
एक
for it.
कलाम है
Go for it.
और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
Allahumma salli ala.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala
हुए लफ्ज़ शामिल
Aha.
सफ़े बंदगी में
वाह,
Aha.
हुए लफ्ज़ शामिल सफ़े बंदगी में सुखन जब की आमद है बिनते नबी में
क्या मसला है,
Wow.
हुए लफ्ज़ शामिल और
Wow.
Aha.
शेर पे गौर कीजिएगा
Bismillah.
ना करना गज़ब नाक ज़हरा को हरगिज़
Aha.
वाह वाह,
Wow, wow, wow.
ना करना गज़ब नाक ज़हरा को हरगिज़ नबी की खुशी है इन्हीं की खुशी में
Ah.
जब की आमद है
बहुत उम्दा, वाह वाह वाह,
क्या बात है
नबी
क्या
में हुए लफ्ज़ शामिल सफ़े बंदगी में सुखन जब की आमद है बिनते नबी में
वाह,
Allahumma salli ala
Allahumma salli
Muhammad.
ala Muhammad.
And what a beautiful way, what a beautiful composition, what beautiful words to end it off with. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to this podcast.
Abbas bhai. Bismillah. You were saying something as well, man.
Please, I was just going to say that. Please, Abbas bhai.
Bismillah.
Guys, okay,
Come
because
on.
you've asked now, I'll do one
Mola
verse.
ke liye, Bismillah.
कागज को पहले अक्षरों से नाम कर लिया करो. Bismillah.
Request.
क्या फरमाइश, वाह,
कागज
Aha.
को पहले अश्कों से
Aha.
नाम कर लिया करो
क्या कहने,
Aha.
कागज पहले अश्कों से
ये बात, वाह,
Aha.
नाम कर लिया करो
वो अच्छे वाह.
फिर उसके बाद नामे सकीना लिखा करो कागज अहले अश्क से नम कर दिया करो. And just one verse for you guys and for everyone that's watching. के आया करो इबादते जिक्रे हुसैन में आया करो इबादते जिक्रे हुसैन में कुरान पढ़ सको कुरान पढ़ सको तो तिलावत सुना करो. और हैदरी को पहले अश्कों से पर मोहम्मद तो आल मोहम्मद
क्या कहने.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for everyone at home who tuned into the podcast. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the comments, the love that you've shown to the podcast for its first one. I'm gonna do, inshallah, planning to do another one in 2 weeks with other guests, and I'm definitely gonna get these amazing guests back in the future too. So tune in. I'll be releasing a post or something to let you guys know when the next one is gonna be. If you want to see more content like this, like I said, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate, as much as not only this content like these podcasts, there's going to be various content from everyone. My plan is to use my channel as a platform for everyone. So not just for myself, which a lot of people are doing these days. Their channels are just for themselves only. My plan in the future is I want to make my channel a platform where I can, release my brother's things on there. Anything that I sort of want to release on there, it will be, it's a platform for everyone. It's a platform for yourself. So please, spread the word of this podcast, spread the word of the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. And inshallah, I'm going to see you in the future with another podcast or any other content that I've planned coming out. I've got a lot of, my brothers here have a lot of stuff planned. And please follow all their socials as well, because they've got some amazing stuff that's coming out. I mean, Meesam Haider, Yusuf Okera, Meesam Mehdi, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. Please follow them up too. They're going to have some amazing stuff coming out. And thanks to all the comments, Salman.
Abbas, if you don't mind me saying something just before we finish off, obviously, just something you're saying now as well, and something to a related question earlier. The brother that asked what to do if basically there is limited space or limited resources to recite. Now in this time with social media and technology that we have present, I'm not going to make this long, make the most of that as well. The fact that we're on this platform to you guys, having this podcast, getting our sources and all kinds of material out to you guys, social media is a big platform as well. So if you think this can be helpful to somebody out there, then please do so.
No, that's a great point. Another great point from Meesam again. Once again, I'd like to thank you guys for joining the podcast. I thank you a lot. Inshallah, when I ask you guys in the future, please, do something with your busy schedules to, again, come on this podcast. And I hope to see you, everyone else, soon. Take care, everyone. Stay safe in this virus. Let's all put our hands up and pray, make a prayer quickly that, inshallah, this virus is removed with the help of Imam Zamana, Adrikni alayhi salam, and his return is as soon as possible, inshallah. And take care, stay safe, stay at homes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.